Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of my favorite podcast. Now, I say the same thing when I do have the other podcast, so they're both my favorites. It's like asking somebody to choose their five favorite, I don't know, pets or son or daughter or kid. For me, it's different passion. One is technology and society, and the other one is storytelling. And one I can get more creative and this is it. Actually, the other thing that I do on this one is I really get to know people because, as you probably know by listening to this podcast, it's about storytelling and stories, but also and very much about storytellers. And what I'm excited today here is that the storytellers is the story. I don't know, Barry. You're gonna help me with this and tell me if I'm correct with this. But I would like to get started with introducing the main, and I'm not diminishing you, Barry, but the main guest today is Karen Meades, and she wrote a book called My Limitless Life, and it is a good story for sure. And it's so good that Barry Finlay, which was already on the show with me a few episodes ago, he helped write in the book in Karen's voice. So I got to talk to both of them. Karen and Barry, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah. So, Barry, I'm just going to start with you quickly, and then because I kind of want you to kind of comment on what I said in terms of the storytellers being the story, and maybe you do a little introduction about Karen for me.
Sure. Well, Karen, actually, the way Karen and I got together was kind of interesting because I was writing a book called Just Keep Climbing about 2 years ago. And I was looking for people who were inspirational. And I sent a message out on my blog. I sent out emails looking for people who thought they were inspirational. Absolutely nobody came back to me and said they were inspirational. So then I started asking people that I knew who I thought were inspirational. And I got a few. But I was out snowshoeing one day with a mutual friend of Karen's and mine. And I told him what I was doing. I was looking for people who had a story to tell, who had faced challenges, either handed to them or that they chose themselves. And he says that he had a colleague who, by the name of Karen Meades, who had done things like run across the Sahara Desert and swim from Alcatraz to San Francisco and run through the Amazon jungle. And that sounded very inspirational to me.
You were hooked.
Yeah, I was hooked, exactly. So I got Karen's information from this mutual friend, and I contacted Karen, and she said, sure, she'd be delighted to participate. So a small part of her story is in my book, Just Keep Climbing. So she's one of eight inspirational people that are in my book. And once the book was published, Karen contacted me and asked if we could meet for coffee. And she started telling me her whole story and asking me if I'd be interested in writing it. And at that time, I kind of hesitated because I'd never done that kind of thing before. But her story absolutely intrigued me. And so by the time I left the coffee shop, I had made up my mind that I was going to do it. And we worked together over a number of months. I asked her 1,000 questions. I remember sending an email one day with 21 questions. And Karen got back to me in a couple of days with all the answers. And it came together fairly quickly. And fortunately, she had some amazing notes as kind of the basis for the book. And it came together fairly quickly. And I'm just amazed. I found out that we had a couple of things in common. We'd both climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. We're both Canadian professional accountants. We both did virtual walks during the pandemic, but the similarities kind of end there because Karen's feats are way beyond anything I ever thought of doing. So, but that's how the book came about, and I'm very proud of the book, and it's available now, and I'm looking forward to people reading it.
Very cool. Okay, I think that was a good intro. Karen, what do you think? Is it good?
I think that was an excellent intro. And what Barry left out is how much fun he made the whole exercise. We met a few times at the coffee shop, and he says, I asked a few questions. Well, it wasn't just in asking the questions, it was conversations that encouraged me to describe, these different events throughout my life. And he was just so genuine in how he listened, and just so genuine in being interested in writing this story. He really made it fun. And he's a fantastic writer. He takes what other people would half listen to, or not quite grab, but he just seemed to really get what it was that I was trying to convey, and he managed to put it in such lovely words. So thank you, Barry.
You're going to make me tear up here.
I keep saying thank you, but thank you.
Well, I love to begin with this, because when you tell a story, sometimes you just picture a keynote or someone on a TED X, and like it start and goes is a monologue. But I honestly love when stories are told together. When you're building a story, I don't know, like in a very poetic way, maybe at in front of a fireplace or the coffee shop. I love coffee shops. So if there is a coffee shop with a fireplace, then I'm hooked. And kind of work it together, right? I mean, you say something and maybe makes you remember something that you thought, maybe that was not important, but all of a sudden, maybe it is. So I'm glad that you guys found each other. So Karen, the first thing that strikes me, I grew up doing track and field, but I would run 100 and 200 meters. After that, I'd run out of breath. But you started it's kind of in a funny way, like, just going to go for a run. And then you never stopped. That reminded me of Forrest Gump. So tell me how that started.
So it's interesting. I was at that point in life where work was really busy. You come home life is busy. I had a young daughter. I just wanted a little bit of something to do that cleared my mind from being busy at work and at home. And someone mentioned the running room. So I looked up a 5-kilometer clinic. I had been quite sedentary for a number of years. I had worked through university, very little time for anything. Then, married, then children. So life is really moving along, and you find yourself sort of at that point. You're out of shape. What do? I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of money. How can I pull this together? So the 5-kilometer clinic sounded attractive. It didn't require much time. I could do it around my daughter's schedule. And it wasn't the running. It wasn't the running at all. Something magical happened when I joined the running room. I met about 20 ladies, and we would run together. And there's something about running beside somebody, side by side. You're sort of, moving along. We're kind of shuffling, and you're talking. But you're sharing and talking in a way that nobody's judging anybody. We all came from different walks of life, different professions. The conversations were interesting. We were raising kids. We were having challenges at work, and you're moving along and you're talking. It was almost like therapy. It was just lovely, lovely, non-judgmental sharing. I kept going back. I went back for the friendships. I went back for the conversations, and the running just happened to happen. I was really hooked when I came to the challenge of doing the 5-kilometer run. And at the end of it, they give you a finisher's medal. Wow. Wow. I had accomplished, from what had become a pretty sedentary lifestyle, to completing this 5K. And here's this medal and someone at the finish line saying, hey, good for you. So it inspired me to sign up for the 10K, another challenge. It was brilliant. And then, at the water cooler, you hear somebody talking about a marathon. You see that glitter in their eye. I did it. I can't believe it. They look ecstatic. And I have this little life pie that I keep by my side. I call it a life pie. It's a circle, and it's divided into different sections. The sections are the components of my life that I find important to me. And one of the little slices of pie was adventure. And when I heard this person talking about marathon, I did what I always do. I said, wow, seems interesting. Not sure why, but seems interesting somehow. And I jotted it down. And that's what I do. I jot it down and I forget about it. Just let it ruminate. Well, the opportunity presents itself not too long after the 10K, half marathon. The opportunity is there. It was of interest to me. I had written it down. I pursued it. Oh, just fantastic. So you go through the training. I'm running with these women that I had met at the running room. Just fantastic. And as soon as you cross that finish line, the tremendous amount of work and training that you've put into it comes to fruition. You've completed it. You're proud of yourself. Others are proud of you. Everyone's congratulating everyone. Very positive environment. And I wore my medal home. And that just became just became the addiction that then became, okay, this speaks to my sense of adventure. This speaks to my sense of wanting to take things on and enjoying certain challenges. And off I went.
We're not talking just about, 5K was the appetizer, but then you get the meal, but then you're like, no, I can do more. Hey, I've done this. I can do this one. Let's get to, I don't think people are realizing what we're talking about here. So you're talking about racing the planet for Deserts ultramarathon series. So, and you need to, if I remember reading at the beginning when Barry introduced it, you need to have finished at least 2 in order to go to do the final one. It's not just because you like it. It means you can also do it. So it's not like, oh, I want to run the marathon, but can I do it? You must have a certain predisposition also. So in your mind, in your body, or you're one of those that's like, everybody can do it.
There's one thing. Sorry, Karen. I was just going to say there's one thing that Karen said when we first met that made me laugh. She said she's not athletic. Mm-hmm. And she had just finished telling me about all these things she'd done.
Yeah.
And she said she's not athletic. But I began to understand that. I think Karen will probably get into that.
All right, let's get into that. So describe a little bit what are these desert ultramarathon, just to give the idea.
So it's, you say, can anybody do it? Yes, I believe anybody can do it. To Barry's point, I'm not an athlete. It is in the preparation for these events. The standard ultra marathon that I've participated in have been self-sufficient stage races. So they're 250 kilometers in length. So they're about 6.5 marathons back to back over the course of a week. So you're in a climate that's as unfriendly as the race organizers can put together. So you might find yourself in the Amazon jungle, or you might find yourself in the Sahara Desert, or to your point about having to pre-qualify, you may find yourself in Antarctica. So they're trying to
just around the block, right?
So they're trying to make it a challenge, both mentally and physically, for you. But the sport of it all is you do this incrementally. You see somebody with a black belt and you say, wow, a black belt in karate. Well, you're not a black belt in karate. What you are is a white belt who then became a yellow belt, who then became a red belt. So, in the training and in the progression that I built, the resilience, the athleticism that I built over time, all of that enabled me to get to these races. So when you say what's special or what's different, there's nothing special. There's nothing different. I'm not athletic. I've just written down in my life pie that this is something that interests me. It speaks to my sense of adventure. And it's just something that I said, what do I have to do to get there? And I broke it down into all the little steps that you take to find yourself one day waking up after having slept on the ground in the Sahara Desert to say, I need to get up today and I need to run. The races are organized where you're self-sufficient, as I mentioned. So you have a backpack on your back with everything that you want to bring. So I don't bring a change of clothes. I don't bring a toothbrush, hairbrush. I don't bring makeup. I'm in the same clothes day after day because I don't want to carry that extra stuff. So I really
couldn't care less. That's what you're doing, right? I gotta go there.
So you have your food and you have some bandages for your feet when you get your blisters, and you have your sleeping bag on your back. And the race organizers provide you with a map where to go from checkpoint to checkpoint, and they provide you with some water.
Can you use GPS, or is it all by orientation and reading the map and no tech?
No tech. The courses are changing now as time goes on because tech is more and more readily available. So you can see more and more phones on the field. But back in the day when I first started, there was no tech at all. The race organizers would give you a flare. So for my first race across the desert, the Marathon des Sables, we had a flare in our backpack, and you were to sort of set it off if you ran into trouble. So wayfinding is quite important. And of course, being aware when you get to the checkpoint about whether or not you feel confident about getting to the next checkpoint.
Wow.
Yeah.
Barry, what was the thing that really made you walk out from the coffee shop and like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm not even going to think about it anymore?
Well, it was the adventure for sure. But I think what makes me most proud of the book is that there's adventure, there's humor, there's drama. It wasn't easy not all the races were easy in quotation marks, if they could ever be easy, but some were more difficult than others. And Karen has a way of telling her story that's self-deprecating. And so there are some funny things that happen along the way, and just a combination of everything. I thought it could make a fantastic book.
Wow.
So I was convinced when I walked out of the coffee shop.
You got this. You got to challenge yourself. I think as a writer, it is daunting to think about writing a book as well. I mean, I'm not comparing, but I'm just thinking like somebody can get into have an objective that it seems so far away, so unreachable, right? But eventually you do it. Maybe you write a page every day, and maybe you get to writing the book in the end. And in your case, it also include sleeping in the desert, and I don't know. Tell some of, I don't know, funny moments or scary moments. Like, what are some examples in the book that you found yourself? Because I'm sure you found yourself in a lot of situations.
I loved my jungle story. So we get to a particular checkpoint, and there's 100 runners in the jungle ultra marathon, and 4 of them are women. So we're running along, we get to a checkpoint, and they say, hang on. And there's 10 of us. You can't proceed, you're gonna have to wait. It's too late in the day, dusk is upon us. And between dusk and dawn, the jaguars feed. So you can't go from this checkpoint to the next checkpoint. You're going to have to wait. So we're in the deep primary Amazon jungle, and there's a race organizer there telling us to stop. Okay. They had a couple of army guys there, and they set up these sort of, you can stay within this perimeter. So we hung our hammocks between two trees. You can't lie on the ground in the jungle. The carnivorous ants will eat you in about 3 hours. So you hang your hammock between the trees, and I climb in. You have netting that goes over your hammock, so you're all nice and tight so that nothing comes into your hammock over the night, but it's mesh. So you can still look up and you can see the sky between some of the treetops. And I'm lying there, and it's as loud as a street corner in New York City. I can hear, wow, and I can hear the howler monkeys going, wah! So I'm lying there. I'm an accountant from Ottawa, and I'm lying there. My eyes are like this, and I'm just thinking to myself, I am so alive. Who gets to do this? This is incredible. This is incredible. And I'm listening all night long. The sun starts to rise, and the race organizer there says, hey, 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 everyone, you can go now. So we unzip. And I had been running with a friend that I met there, Debbie from Scotland. So I'm running with Debbie. She looks at me. I look at her, and we just kind of shrug and go, he says it's okay. Let's go. So we go to the next checkpoint. It was fantastic. Fantastic.
Well, that's the attitude that made you do that, because probably 95 or more % of people would have been like, I'm out of here. And you're like, I feel so alive. I mean, I don't know. That's probably what made you do it. That is, I don't know, energy. And
there is a certain something in me, and, Barry and I have talked about it. What makes you do this? What makes you do this? I certainly have a sense of adventure, and it's a combination from my young years and, reflecting on how I was raised with my parents and uncles and aunts. So there's definitely a mix of what makes a person do what they do. And we talk about that in the book to try and inform the reader of that storyboard. I do have to say, though, if you do it once, I guarantee you're going to do it again, because it's like a chicken and egg. I know I want to do it again because I've done it, but why did I do it in the first place? I don't know. But now that I've had an adventure like that, I want another one.
And the fact that you can do this, and you see part of the world that most people see from an airplane if you look down, maybe, or on TV or movies and stuff like that. That's amazing.
I have seen, I've run on every continent, and I've seen very, very special cultures. I've seen very special animals, very special landscapes. The world is people, and the world is just beautiful.
The other thing that comes out in the book that Karen hasn't mentioned yet is, for her, it's not about winning. It's about finishing. And I think that's an important point, that, and that's, I think, going to be inspirational for everybody, is the fact that, you don't have to win at whatever it is you're doing, as long as you finish. And finishing is winning in a way.
She gave that away at the beginning with the 5K. She was proud to have the finisher medal. She wasn't proud about winning it, or it was the finishing that she said it right away. So I love that you just highlighted this.
I'm slow as molasses. So if you want to run and you want to go fast, off you go. I'm happy to step aside and let you go. I'm there for a different reason, doing a different thing. And like I said, it's about those people that I'm shuffling beside and chatting with, and it's about all the jaguars that I hear, and the beautiful night skies in Chile. I mean, that's what it's about.
Wow. But you also, it says in your bio that you are the third Canadian woman to conquer the race. So that tells a lot about not everybody.
That may just mean that there's not a lot of people who want to do it.
Not enough crazy people, you mean? Crazy in a good way, obviously. Yeah. Incredible. How Barry, I just want to go a little bit on both sides here, because I do remember we talked about your Kilimanjaro adventure with your son, and it's kind of like a moment in your life that also needed to challenge yourself in a different way, but still a pretty big size challenge right there. Have you found any similarity or angle that you could have shared? I mean, obviously you presented in your book, but with your personal experience, did something click there?
Well, for me, it was a life-changing experience. I think everything Karen does, I'm sure, is life-changing. But for me, that particular moment, reaching the top and with my son was life-changing. And meeting the kids in Africa. We ended up raising money for 10 years to build schools and latrines and a number of other things in Africa. And it was meeting the people there, and the whole experience for me was absolutely life-changing. And even the nutritional and fitness part of it, I've tried to continue that. It's 15 years now since I climbed Kilimanjaro. And I've tried to continue that all the way along. So it really, something clicked for me when we completed that challenge.
That's really cool. Karen, how long ago was that you did all this race?
My most recent race was 2018. Okay. And I was training for a race to head out to in 2023. In order to complete these races, they require that you have a doctor's certificate. And that usually entails doing an ECG or an MRI, depending on the physician that's watching you. And I failed miserably the last checkup. I have cardiomyopathy, so a certain percentage of my heart is scarred. So just a mix between genetics and the training and so the physician suggested I don't do these races anymore, that I find some other adventures to do, and suggested that perhaps I start to run 5Ks again instead of ultra marathons. So I had a bit of a life change. It's been a year and a half now, so it feels like ancient history. But I've taken up e-biking, and I have some bees in the backyard. So I've taken up some different things and looking at adventures in different ways, as opposed to those extreme races.
So when you got this news, I mean, I'm sure you were not happy in general. I mean, and that's not how we feel when we get that kind of news that are, kind of like life-changing, or maybe like consider your limits, maybe that eventually you have to. But I'm sure you enjoy doing the things that you're doing now. I mean, it sounds to me that you are someone that, if that's not possible anymore, I'm just gonna take another challenge. I don't know that.
Yeah, so it's I don't see it that way, Marco. It's not a limit. So I mentioned a life pie earlier when we started chatting, and it is that life pie. The running and those adventures have been brilliant, no question. But there's many other slices of that life pie. Okay. There's many other things that define me. I enjoy going back to school. I enjoy, romantic adventures with my husband. There's lots of other things on that life pie. So it was really about going back to those basics to say, okay, what can I do? And pretty quickly out the gate, we went down to New Zealand and did an e-bike through the Alps to the ocean on that trail. So it's
I
just
love New
about
Zealand. Were you on the North Island, South Island?
South.
Okay,
And
that's the one I need to go to.
It's just about that, right? And it really isn't. It really isn't a limit. It's life is limitless. It's about saying, not the one thing that I can't do. What are the million things that I can do? And, what interests me? So, for example, in December, we're going to do a hike, and we're going to go and see the gorillas in Rwanda, Uganda. So I can do that. The cardiologist says that's fine. Walk slowly.
Well, you're already run like molasses anyways.
To me, that shift from doing all the things she did to doing what she's doing now is as impressive as what she did before. It would have knocked a lot of people on their butt, I think, and they would have had a hard time recovering. But I think just the way Karen has, the way you've been able to make that shift is really impressive.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I share it. You define it as a pie with different slices, and they're all good. Just enjoy them, right? And they may be full of different experiences. It's not a pie just made. It's almost like a different taste with different slice, but it's all one pie, right? That's how I'm viewing it, and I love that. What kind of experience do you get now from doing these things, where you don't have the pressure of the run, where you don't have to do it all by yourself, but you're probably enjoying? I mean, you're still going in an adventure, but maybe a little less challenging. Did they give you a different perspective about the experience that you do? Because I feel like it's hard to enjoy the environment while you are actually running for 250 miles kilometers in a week. It's kind of like you're not like whistling and going around and
it's different. So every adventure that you have is different from the adventure that came before it, and special in its own way. So maybe there's less training involved with an e-bike in New Zealand, and maybe that has its advantages. Maybe it has its takeaways. I don't know. It depends on the particular adventure. But because I've selected that adventure, because I've said, hey, I want to go back to school and I want to pursue this degree, I know it's of interest to me because I know it's on that pie that I have. And I know that I'm going to enjoy the process of going through it. I'm interested in it. I'm engaged. I'm there. I'm present. I want to do this. So they're different in different ways. I can't say that one is better than the other. The fact that I've had many, and they're all in different sections of what I define as my total life, is what has made it quite fun and quite interesting.
Very good. And Barry, do you want to write more about Karen? Like maybe another book with this other adventure?
Tired of me by now.
No, I can tell it's not tired.
Well, there's lots to write about probably. But sure, if something comes along, sure. Right now I'm going back to the world of imagination.
Yeah.
So nonfiction, I'm working on another nonfiction book, but I'm always open for something new.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this because I remember we were talking about you've done different kind of books, and as you said, fiction and mystery and detective and nonfiction, of course. How do you jump from one kind of writing to the other? Because this is completely different from writing about detective.
It is, but writing Karen's story and writing our own story in about Kilimanjaro, it's real life, and it's I find it's, I don't know if it's, I think it probably is a bit easier than writing fiction. You know, when you're writing fiction, you have to make all these things up, and you have to make sure that all the pieces fall into place, and you have to make sure that everything makes sense in the end, and you don't reveal too much as you're going along. And you know, there are a lot of different things you have to take into account. But whereas writing Karen's story or writing my story or the story of the 8 individuals, I was just writing real life, and you know, I tried to get as much out of the people as I could that I thought would be of interest and fit in the book. So I don't find it a big challenge jumping between the two.
That's cool. And Karen, I know I was reading on your bio that you co-founded a health program.
Mm-hmm.
Want to tell me a little bit about that, and also maybe what was the driver for you to say, okay, I'm gonna write a book about my life, my experience. Like, I'm thinking, so you have to write a book, you want people to know. Is there like a reason? Is there a connection with the fact that you founded a health program between what you've done, who you are, and the book itself?
So up north, I was working at the Heart Institute, and at the time, telehealth was, it was hopeful that telehealth would be a solution to remote healthcare. And the individual at the Heart Institute responsible for this telehealth technology said folks in the North were saying that they don't have good access to healthcare. And a couple of colleagues at the Heart Institute looked into it and thought that there was opportunity to have physicians from Ottawa rotate up to the North, provide clinics. If the Inuit needed medical intervention, we would organize to fly them south with an interpreter and fly them south with an escort. And while they're here in Ottawa, offer them interpretation services, transportation to their appointments, and so on, case management. So they asked if I would jump on board. I had an experience with an Inuit person who had been adopted by a family in my community where I was growing up. So there was that interest and that connection that I had, and I jumped on board right away. I said, yes, I want to be part of this. So of course, my piece was finance. So I put together the budget within the proposal. We won the proposal. The organization continues to this day. It's here in Ottawa, and it's coordinating this case management and this interpretation for the Inuit as doctors from Ottawa travel north and offer these clinics. So just such a nice opportunity. And sometimes we see opportunities just for the work that they are, but I also saw a tremendous amount of meaning in this opportunity, and I really wanted to be part of it. So I left the organization, retired from the organization a few years back now. The organization continues, and I feel that it's continuing doing really, really great work. So really fun, really happy to be part of that adventure. How does that relate to wanting to write a book? I really wanted to write a book to let people know that what I've done, if it resonates with you, if any of it resonates with you at all, what I've done is not in any way extraordinary. It's ordinary, very ordinary people just being mindful about living life to the fullest. And I really wanted to write a book to let people know that it's possible. I had done a number of talks throughout the years. I had had a number of leadership positions as my career grew over the years. And I just found if I can influence one girl or one woman or one man, or, you know, if I could influence somebody to to live life bigger than they're living it, to get more from life, I want to write this down, and I hope it resonates with you.
Barry, you think you got that in the book?
I think so. I think it comes across that you don't have to be Karen, but you can pick your own challenges and finish them.
Well, I think that is the lesson, and I think everybody, it's a limitless life. I think that we impose our own limits. I don't know if we want to finish with this, but the limitless is when you realize that you don't have to be who you are just because that's where you were born or that's the environment where you're at. And again, it doesn't have to be. Now that you finish this book and you have to go run through the Amazon, some people are not going to deal with the jaguars the way you did, right? But it may be that thing that you always wanted to do. Just do it one step at a time, right?
Yeah.
Is that the lesson?
Just do it.
Just do it? Okay. I heard that before, that just do it part.
Or I've never heard it before.
Or as Barry was saying, and we were making fun about Doris in Finding Nemo, just keep swimming or just keep climbing, or in your case, just keep running, I guess. That's the lesson. Well, I am glad that you guys both made it. Barry, you brought Karen. Karen has a wonderful spirit, and I think it comes through into the book. I'm looking forward to read it myself, and I will let everybody click on the notes and connect to get the book. And Karen, anything you want to share with us about either the organization that you have or anything, any resource that you want the people to listen to or watch us on YouTube on this podcast, just share with me, and everybody can find it in the notes. Of course, there'll be the link to Barry as well, maybe to the other episode that we had together, so that we can share it and enjoy more stories. So thank you very much, Karen and Barry.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. And everybody stay tuned, subscribe, and I'll come back with more stories for sure. Take care.